Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the glass case of emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markle.
Yes, indeed. It is I, and it is us, and it is we, and here we are. I am back in my chair inside of the Silencer Shop Studios, high atop the mountain in Saratoga, Wyoming. And across from me is Zachary. Say hello, Zachary.
Hello. I feel like it's been like a month since I sat in this chair, but it hasn't. It's only been like, what, 10 days?
It's only been like 10, 11 days, something like that.
But like, a month.
Well, but
actually,
that is okay because you got to sit in that chair for a whole like hour and a half before we actually got started this morning.
Yeah, well,
because technology.
My telephone is loving
undid
it.
all the bugs. Speaking of bugs, thank you to everyone who has faith and patience. And the morning mindset yesterday was weird, or Monday was, I guess, Monday. The morning mindset on Monday, it was up on the site. Like if you went to Morning Mindset Podcast, it was there. And we submitted it to iTunes, but it wasn't published for some reason. So we had to go in. Zach had to go in manually because, Zach, you schedule them, right? Tell everyone what you do, Zach. You go in and you schedule them.
All the oral products that we make, I'm not sure how to pronounce that word.
Audio products?
Whatever. The thing is like oral is mouth, oral is ear.
Oral.
Whatever. Those products. Audio products we create. I edit the morning mindsets, and then I schedule the morning mindsets and the radio. And we use a site. How far behind the curtain do we want to
go? Not too far. Just tell them that there's
we use
a site.
a publishing site that, because I don't know if there's any legal reasons or whatever. But we use a publishing site to put the stuff up, and there's a scheduling section, and I can schedule individually each location that it goes to. So, like Spotify is one, YouTube's another, the Twitter's another, iTunes is another, and they're all separate. Well, for whatever reason, iTunes just decided, nah.
It didn't go up.
I came in here at like 10 o'clock, or I got to my computer and did it. It was closer to 9, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It was around 9.
It was at some point in time yesterday or Monday. Or
it was at some point in time.
In the morning, and I came out and published it. And so, yeah, it was a little late. And then, of course, there was the regular episode of radio on Monday.
So the way that you could like have circumvented all of that, you as a listener, you could just go to morningmindsetpodcast.com every morning, and it'll be there. And if it doesn't feed to iTunes and whatever else, it'll still be on the website. So that's fine.
Yeah, and if you guys remember, if you've been with us the whole time, we've been doing Student of the Gun Radio for the last 5 years or so. You remember during the beginning of Student of the Gun Radio, like when things were new and all the different systems, I guess you'd say, or platforms we were setting those up. So thank you. And thank you to everybody who has left us a review, whether it's on iTunes or Stitcher or Podcast Republic or whatever, for the new Morning Mindset podcast. I do appreciate it. And I'd like to see more. Please, and share it if you would. Share if you're digging what we're doing with the Morning Mindset podcast. Share it with somebody.
Here's what I know. I know that way more people have downloaded the Morning Mindset than have left reviews. So if you found value in the Morning Mindset podcast, and this is Student of the Gun Radio, so I don't know why I'm saying this here, but I'll say it anyway. I see a lot of crossover. So if you found value in the Morning Mindset podcast, then leave a review on your favorite podcast player. And if you haven't found value, if you've listened to it and you decided that it's not for you, send an email to info@morningmindsetpodcast.com and let us know why.
Well, you could do that. Yeah, Jarrad says, I know that more people have downloaded than have left reviews. Yeah, because Jarrad can see the numbers.
And it's free. It's free for you guys. So it's a very little amount of effort that we ask for the amount of effort that Professor Paul is putting in.
Hey, and me too.
And Jarrad.
I spent freaking.
Yeah, I would say Zach probably spends more time on one episode than Professor Paul, but that's because it's been 30 years since you've acquired this knowledge, or as you've acquired the knowledge.
Something like that.
If we're peeking behind the curtain, I'm making hand gestures. You guys can't see it, but imagine I'm doing hand gestures.
Imagine Zachary making hand gestures.
The last episode of Morning Mindset I scheduled was a bit of a nightmare. It did not want to work with me.
It did not want to work, but we made it work. And I listened to it.
I want you guys to know.
I listened to it, and it was good. It sounded good. I think it sounded good.
I'm working hard for you.
He's working hard for you.
Not just for you, but the people who listen to Morning Mindset aren't listening. So you make sure
the other people that aren't even listening right now.
Yeah, but you're not free.
Yeah.
The audio is free.
Yeah, the audio is free. I put in great amount.
Buku.
as well as
Buku effort.
The good professor.
Would you say you put in Buku effort?
Probably.
Peace and blessings, Zach. Peace and blessings.
It means a lot. It means Buku. Buku means a lot.
Is that like Jobu?
No, it's like
you
go
Jobu.
back to like Nam, man. Buku. But anyway.
Good for you.
What do we do on our Wednesday show? What do we do on Wednesday show? We have this little thing called Brownells Bullet Points where we talk about guns and gear. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. Let's talk about pop music. No, let's talk ammunitions. This is something that we didn't really spend much time on. I don't think we spent any time on it, actually, yesterday or Monday or during the previous episode. How's that sound? But we visited our friends at Black Hills Ammunition, and, of course, Black Hills had a few new things to offer for the year 2018, and they introduced them at the SHOT Show and so forth, like they always do. Well, everybody does that. They have to come up with one shiny new product for the SHOT Show. Well, Black Hills introduced the 4570 government cartridge in Honey Badger configuration. Yes, right. That's right. It's a 4570 with a 325 grain projectile, a Honey Badger projectile. And now that it's out and now that it's public, we can go ahead and let you in on a little secret. Now, you guys remember when we were posting pictures back in October of our visit to the Black Hills Ammunition Factory? Jarrad, do you remember that? Zach,
I remember.
I remember.
Yeah. I remember walking around with my phone, like, can I take a picture of that? And they went, no.
No.
I was like, okay, I'm going to be a photographer. We're going to have all kinds of great pictures. I took like 5.
Well, that's because they're areas.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, one of the things that Black Hills does is, and I'm sure that you know this, is they have a contract with the United States military. And so where the areas of the factory where they manufacture the military ammunition, the 5.56 and what have you, those are not top secret, but they're basically no photography allowed. You're not allowed to look at the.
But we're contractually obligated not to talk about the nuclear weapons they're building.
We can't talk about the Moab that Jeff has in the back there.
It was really nice. It was a lot smaller than you think it was.
If Jeff could get a contract to make Moabs, he probably would do it. What do you think, Jarrad? Do you think he would?
I think that Jeff appreciates freedom. So yeah,
he does. He appreciates freedom, and he appreciates being the arm of freedom. But when we got there, we showed up, and Christy's like, "Well, I'm glad you're here because Jeff's been waiting. They've been waiting for you. They're back in the test tunnel, the test room. They have, of course, they do live fire testing because they test ammunition. That kind of makes sense, right? But they have the very specific, well, if you've ever been to an ammunition factory, and even if you haven't, you can imagine that they have these test tunnels with padding and all that stuff where they go and live fire. Well, they were working up the 4570 Honey Badger load. And what they had is they had different loads with different weight projectiles, and they were basically shooting them into the giant Jello blocks. And we got back there, and Jeff's like, okay. And he told us, he goes, this is what we're doing. He goes, don't tell anybody. He He said, because we haven't decided which grain bullet we're going to use yet, whether a super heavy one or a light one or a middle one or what have you. And I got to shoot one of the first. Matter of fact, Jarrad, did I shoot a 325 into the? Do you remember?
I think you did.
Yeah, I can't remember because there was
exactly.
I know there was 3 different. It's like super crazy scientific. They've got the graphs and stuff, and they do the photography and as you can imagine, when you're shooting a 45-70, you need more than one Jello block. I think the standard block is like 22 inches or something like that. But yes, they allowed me to fire one of the first shots ever with the new 45-70 Honey Badger load, and that is the special FTM fluid transfer monolithic bullets, and it was kind of a hush hush thing. I mean, not super secret, but basically Jeff said, don't talk about it because we're going to release it at SHOT Show, and we don't want people to jump the gun. I said, okay, cool, I won't. So we didn't, but now we can, and that'll leave a mark. The 45-70 Honey Badger cartridge, it'll leave a mark, definitely. And for all of you special shooters, I know some of you out there consider yourself special. You feel special. And some of you freaks out there shoot the 44 special. Well, Black Hills has released a new 44 special Honey Badger load. And I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the bullet weight on that one, but it's obviously not as heavy as the 325 grain one. It's a super serious one. Now, this is obviously Brownells Bullet Points, and if you go to Brownells, I actually dropped the link in there to all the Honey Badger ammunition. The 45-70 and 44 Special are brand new. I mean, they're like brand new, and it'll probably be a little bit before they're stocked at your favorite dealers, your favorite online. And I know a lot of people are like, I can't ever find any of that stuff. You know who stocks it? Besides Black Hills, Brownells. I know it's crazy, right? I know it's crazy. But if you guys, if you look at the show notes, there is a direct link to go to brownells.com. And if you feel like picking up some of the Black Hills Honey Badger load. Now, before you get sticker shock, this is not practice ammo. Okay. This is the depleted uranium stuff. This is the stuff that you put in when you're loading up for real, not when you're just going out to shoot tin cans or milk jugs or whatever. If you're trying to, kill cardboard targets, this isn't the stuff for you. If you're trying to put bullets into things that are made out of flesh and that breathe and run around, then this is what you use. Good enough? Okay. Froglube. Green, minty fresh, bio-based, U.S. veteran owned. If you needed any more reasons to try out Froglube, it's extreme. And it's extreme all the way down to -40. Now, we haven't had any -40 days here in Wyoming, and I hope we don't. I hope we're past that now that it's, is this releasing on, this is releasing on the last day of January. Is it not? It is. It's kind of weird because normally we still have, when we go to the shooting, hunting, and outdoor trade show, it's the second week of January. Usually, I always remember it because Martin Luther King Day is the second Monday of the month every year, right? And usually when we arrive, we're there at the show on MLK Day, and that's the way it's been for years and years and years. And this year, they pushed it off a whole nother week, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of weird because it's almost freaking February already. I can't believe it. So if you guys want to check out Froglube, it's really easy. You can go to froglube.com or brownells.com or to your favorite lubricant provider.
Your favorite lubricant dealer?
Yeah.
It's funny because when you said you wanted to release the Morning Mindset back in October, November, when you're like, let's release it on MLK Day. And I was thinking, okay, that's perfect because we'll be at SHOT Show. We'll have some in the can. We'll be able to do it and then come back and then continue. And then it ended up being the week before SHOT Show.
Mm-hmm.
So
things change. We adapt. We move along with our lives. Century Arms, the sweetest metal arms maker in the U.S. of A. Now they have, in addition to the C39 V2 and the RAS-47 and all the other stuff that they've got the new Draco 9mm pistol. It looks like a Kalashnikov, but it's 9mm. It uses a Glock magazine, and it's freaky deaky, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one real soon. I don't have my hot little nasty hands on one yet, but hopefully soon. And, of course, they have the Canic pistols, and they have all kinds of freaking Canic pistols in the line now. They've got the DAs, the SFs, the SAs, the SF Elites, the SFLs, the SFX, and now, just about everything will be available. At least all of it. All right, I was looking at the threaded barrel, the aftermarket threaded barrel, and it will fit in all of the TP9 SF models. Okay, and the SA V2. And you're like, what? All right, if you guys don't know anything about the history of the TP9s, the TP9 SA came out. It's a good gun, but one of the things that people didn't like about it was the fact that you couldn't change the sights. The sights were what they were, and if you didn't like them, then just too bad, suck it. You weren't going to change them. And what they did is they tweaked it a little bit, and they came up with an updated version, and then they moved on to the TP9 SF and the SFL and the DA and the SFX and the Elite and all that stuff. So if you have one of the newer models, one of the new SF models, now it won't fit in the long barrel models because they're long barreled, right? Now they may have those in the future. I don't know, but right now they've got them for. So pretty much if you've got a TP9 SF or an SF Elite, they've got an aftermarket drop-in threaded barrel, and it's 1/2 by 28. So that should fit just about every 9mm can available in the United States right now. And they also have the new SF Elite. I don't know what are they calling that new SF Elite. That's the desert tan black combo with the suppressor sights. Do you remember?
Not a clue.
No.
I can't remember.
It's probably like the SF Elite T for threaded barrel or something like that.
I think it's SFT.
Yeah. The SFT is the full-size version.
Yeah. TP9 Elite SFT. I can't remember.
Elite T. I don't know.
I'm going to look it up right now.
Go to centuryarms.com, browse.
Hey, Zach, you got the answer?
For what?
Yeah. You should have been Googling.
For what? DuraCoat, because life is too short to have an ugly gun. Beginning and end of sentence. DuraChrome, DuraBlue, DuraDyes, Dura this, Dura that. Dura everything you freaking want, you freaks. So there's no reason for you to have an ugly gun. Just none whatsoever. And what I want you guys to do is go to DuraCoat Firearms Finishes. Isn't that correct, Jarrad? DuraCoat
yes.
Is it Firearms?
Yes, DuraCoat FirearmsFinishes.com.
DuraCoat FirearmsFinishes.com. Pretty easy, right? Pretty easy to remember. And then you can have not an ugly gun. Pick up some slightly darker black, gun tattoo, all that crazy stuff. SWAT Fuel, because they want you to have a stronger body, sharper mind this year, every year, all the time. Just do it. And you know what was interesting last night? I was watching, while you were on the road, Jarrad, I was watching the Savage Gentleman podcast or live stream or whatever they call it.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it with James.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the one thing that Jeff was saying, they were talking about, end of the world as we know it, apocalypse, what is the most valuable skill? And Yeager's like, he goes, the most valuable skill is not shooting. Everybody can shoot. Everyone's like, hey, I'm a shooter. Yeah. It's like, so what? So is everybody else. We're all shooters. Can you fix an engine? Do you have medical skills? Can you make the internet run? Things like that. And they talked about, skills. And one of the things that Jeff brought up, he said that what many people don't think about when it comes to prepping is physical ability and stress. He said He said, I would say the vast majority of people who consider themselves to be preppers in America are missing one serious skill, and that's the ability to deal with the physical stress required in a crisis. He said, everybody, we have 9-to-5 jobs where we take breaks and take lunch breaks and this, and 5 o'clock rolls around and you're done. He said, in a crisis, in warfighting crisis mode, there is no 9-to-5. It's you wake up when the sun gets up. You wake up with the sun. You work all day until the sun goes down. You lay down to try and get some sleep. You're probably going to be woken up in the middle of the night. You go back to sleep, get back up with the sun, and do it again. And it's that physical ability, that ability to be physically ready to deal with the stress. And I'm not talking about constantly being engaged in firefights, because that's not, if you're constantly engaged in firefights, eventually you're going to die, because even the, SOCOM and so forth, they're not constantly engaged in firefights. Most of the time you're just waiting for stuff to happen, or you're doing boring administrative stuff, or you're doing security work, or you're doing patrolling, and that takes a toll on your body. And why did I talk about all that stuff about stress and being physically ready? It kind of goes back to our discussion. Does it seem like there's been a theme in Student of the Gun about how it's not enough to just go out and buy guns, because you need your body and mind?
Here's the deal. Like this year at SHOT Show, I was actually very impressed, because a lot of the people that I talk to every year came this year, and they had brought up the I've been working out and I've been training to get stronger or to get better, and previous years they hadn't mentioned that. So I've seen a huge shift in the industry of people just I got a gun, so why do I need to be fit, to now they're okay, I have to be fit because I might have to fight to get to the gun in the first place, or
I might have to fight to survive.
Yeah,
that's the thing is, like in the Katrina situations, the Sandy situations, the electricity's off, the water's not flowing, you have to actually, you're going to be clearing debris, all that stuff. You can't just sit down and wait for someone else to do it. You're going to have to do it. Now, I know there are people in our society, people in the United States whose plan in a crisis is to sit down on their butts and wait for somebody else to take care of it. But that's not you. That's not me. That's not my listening audience. If you guys want to have a stronger body, sharper mind this year, you're going to make a commitment to do it. SWAT Fuel wants to help you. Dr. Dan Olesnicki, our favorite doctor, SWAT doc. He's a SWAT doc. He's an ER doc. He's a freaking genius when it comes to crazy, like, reparatory things like stem cells.
He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. He wants you to be stronger. He wants you to be fit. He wants you to be hard to kill. And, that's the whole purpose behind SWAT Fuel, is to give you that extra stuff that you need. So check them out at SWATfuel.com. Didn't he say they were rolling SWAT Fuel, SWATfuelstore.com into the one?
Yeah.
So either one works. Yeah. And the big thing that they're doing right now to help you is they're doing the SWAT box. So they put all the stuff in one box. You order it. You get everything you need. So just drive on, freaks. Drive on. For all of you who are looking for a fighting fitness, remember, the fighting fitness segment has been moved to Thursday. Yes. Fighting fitness, brought to you by our friends at SWAT Fuel, has been moved to Thursday. And if you want to listen to that, well, you need to be a member of the grad program, and you can do that by, what is it, GetSOTG.com?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
That is GetSOTG.com.
Yes, go to GetSOTG.com and join in on the fun goodness. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Crossbreed Holsters Homeroom segment, Student of the Gun Homeroom. Do you ever have a big coffee cup and you set it down a little bit too hard on the table and coffee sloshes everywhere? I never have, but I'm just
I
asking for a
hate it when
friend.
that happens. That happens to me all the time with my coffee.
Somebody might have been drinking coffee during the Madison Rising intro music and set their coffee cup down real quick so they could talk in the microphone. And
Zach, how dare you?
All right, freaks and freakettes. During our Crossbreed Holsters homeroom segment, we always talk about, being dangerous on demand and generally talk about carrying guns and using holsters to carry guns. But how do you carry a long gun without a holster? Because obviously we don't put rifles and shotguns in holsters.
Maybe you don't.
Maybe you don't. But what is a holster for a long gun, rifle, shotgun? What is it? Well, it's this crazy thing called a sling. And many of you early this week shared a video. Apparently in Dayton, Kentucky, they were arresting some people, or the police were called out, and somebody walked out of their house, and a police officer, and this wasn't apparently, this actually was on video, had set his AR-15 rifle down, propped it up against the car, then was walking around the street dealing with suspects, and the rifle was just laying there up against the car all by itself, right? And of course, not of course, but the person who was filming it with their phone was just aghast. I mean, there's an unattended assault rifle. There's an assault rifle right there, and it's unattended, and children are walking by, and it was as if the rifle was going to jump up and just like the rifle was going to go ballistic. It's like, blah, blah, blah. All right, was the cop wrong? All right, here's the funny thing is, as the video goes on, the cop eventually. Did you see the video, Jarrad?
No, I didn't see this.
Oh, you got to watch it. This cop essentially, it seems as though he can barely walk. He walks very slowly over to the car. He picks the rifle up by the barrel. I'm not kidding. Picks the rifle up by the barrel and walks back to his police car. He's carrying it like a freaking golf club. It's got a magazine in it. I'm sure it's hot and loaded. So, and he's dragging, there's a single point sling on this thing. He's dragging the sling behind it.
Really?
Yes. It's pathetic.
Well, those slings
the whole entire scene between the guy, like, almost having a conniption fit over the gun being, unattended, and that there are children in the neighborhood, and, okay, I get that. Don't leave your guns laying around. But, I mean, this guy was just like, and he kept saying, this is an assault rifle. It's an assault rifle. It's an assault rifle. I wanted to jump through the screen and freaking choke him. And then this public servant in a polyester uniform saunters over, picks it up by the barrel, and carries it back to his cruiser like a golf club or a freaking 9-iron or whatever, like it's a baseball bat or a tennis racket or something. Not like it's a deadly force instrument, like it's a tool. And as soon as he picks it up, I saw the single point sling. I was like, it's a good thing that strappy thing that they bought. It's a good thing that the people of Dayton, Kentucky contributed their taxpayer revenue so that they could buy these super cool G.I. Joe black rifles and put single point slings on them, because apparently they have no idea what those strappy things are. Why is that strappy thing hanging off the back of the gun? I don't know. What's that thing for? It's called a sling. A sling is a holster for a long gun. The reason we put slings on long guns is so that we don't just have to lay them down on the ground when we're engaged in other activities. I know it's crazy, right? Like, oh. So, all right. And for ladies and gentlemen, and obviously these cops in Dayton, Kentucky have zero to no training. Because, and I also wanted to bring this up, it doesn't do any good to buy gear. It doesn't do any good to buy accessories and bolt and strap accessories onto guns when your people don't train with them? Apparently it never occurred to Officer Snuffy or whatever this guy was to actually take that strappy thing and put it over his body so that when he needed to free his hands up, he wouldn't have to set the gun down on the ground.
Well, but you don't understand. He is on a fixed income and cannot afford training, so you can't expect him to take it.
You're right, son. You're right. If the department would have wanted me to have training, they'd have sent me to it. And apparently they didn't want him to have training because his training, based upon his actions, was pretty crappy. Yeah. And when I see stuff like that, I hearken back to all those, the left-wing liberals like, only police officers and soldiers, they're the only ones that are trained enough to use these evil black assault rifles. The average person doesn't have the skill or ability. Right. Oh, man. My children all of my children, daughter included, have more skill and ability than what was on display on the streets of Dayton, Kentucky, in that video. So why do we put slings on rifles, ladies and gentlemen? Because a sling on a rifle, whether it's a single point or a 2-point, that is your holster for your long gun. So when you need to use both your hands, you use that strappy thing and you secure it to your body so you don't have to just be setting it down all willy-nilly and playing this little game called Where Did I Leave My Gun Today? Oh. But for regular holsters like the Super Tuck Deluxe and the Freedom Carry and all the other things that, well, holster related, if you don't want to have to set your gun down on the ground when you need both your hands, go to some place like crossbreedholsters.com. Maybe Crossbreed could come up with well, there's you know why they won't, because there's already enough people making like nylon slings. There's so many people making nylon slings that it would be pointless for Crossbreed to do one. But you know, they could do a thing. They could sell a sling, like a leather sling, and say, oh, one other thing that we learned. What did Crossbreed Holsters, horsehide backing, and we were talking to Murray in the booth about horsehide. And he said, look, here's what I know. I know that we consume, what did he say? It was at 90%? I think it was 90%, wasn't it?
Maybe 89%?
No, I'm talking to Jarrad. You weren't there.
I know I wasn't there, but he's not responding.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true.
90%, we consume 90% what?
Of the horsehide in the United States.
Okay, yeah.
There's only one horsehide tannery in the United States. And Crossbreed buys 99%. No, not, well, maybe it wasn't 99. Was it 90, 95?
I don't remember what it was. I think it was around 90%.
Yeah, it's, all right, so let's just say Crossbreed Holsters today is consuming 90+% of the horsehide leather available. And there's only one horsehide tannery in the United States, if you can believe that. But so when someone says, because we were talking about that, because some holster maker come out and they're like, oh, our stuff is 100% horsehide. And it was this really thin, floppy stuff. And somebody called up Crossbreed and they're like, oh, I can get a Crossbreed, or I can get horsehide backing holster for way less than you're selling it for. And he's like, yeah. Right. Is that what they told you? Did they tell you that? I think is Kramer still in business? I'll have to look it up, because Kramer holsters, back in the olden days of combat handguns and all that, Kramer, that was their big thing, was that they sold horsehide leather holsters. Now Kramer is still in business. They have a website, and it exists. Was that nice enough, Jarrad? They have a website, and it does exist.
Yep.
And I think that their nephew Billy probably built their website for many, many moons ago. Go to Jarrad, go to Kramer Holsters. It's actually KramerLeather.com, but take a gander and tell me what you think.
I could do a whole podcast episode on this alone.
You could do a whole podcast episode on what is wrong with this website, but they still exist. But the reason I think of Kramer, because if you see Kramer, it's, the name, and they have a horse silhouette because they were famous back in the 80s and 90s for doing horsehide leather holsters. So between Kramer and Crossbreed, they probably consume somewhere like 99% of all horsehide leather in the United States. But I thought that was interesting. All right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let Alex talk, and let me see what's left in the bottom of my coffee cup here.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a complimentary online training course called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. Get instant access by joining the Student Lounge for free at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of these questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG. I get to see them set in stone. I like it when you chain me to the bed, but then you see it's down.
All right, that's Puddle of Mud, and that is the Slave State update theme. Attention, attention, tax slaves, attention. You are hereby commanded to surrender. That's right, all of you Massachusetts tax slaves, all of you people that are proud Massachusetts gun owners. I'm a proud Second Amendment supporter. And I'm, for at least 5 years now on Student of the Gun radio. And Student of the Gun TV has been out since 2011. And I have been doing what I do, this stuff. I've been pontificating and writing and so forth. So for a lot of years, I've been told by the people who live in places like Massachusetts and New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and California and Illinois that I don't know what I'm talking about and that they are behind enemy lines fighting the good fight. Is that not what we're told, Jarrad?
Absolutely. That's what I've heard over and over and over, and I could keep doing that the whole rest of the episode.
Yep. We're told, like, I'm not going to run. That's not the solution. The solution is not to leave. The solution is to stay and fight. Okay. Massachusetts. Is it getting better? Or do you have more freedom now than you had 5 years ago? When I started hammering people on this show and using the term slave state, the slaves got upset. The slaves get angry when you point out facts. When you tell people in Massachusetts that they're not really citizens, that they're tax slaves, their panties get all twisted up in their cracks, and then they get mad and they're like, that was actually a quote from someone from the Massachusetts Firearms Owners Association right there. But they say, we're fighting a good fight and we're going through the courts and we're filing motions. And I went on Facebook and told them how displeased I was on Facebook. All right. Well, here we got a story from our favorite pirate, AWR Hawkins, from 19 January 2018. The state of Massachusetts is ordering. Listen up, tax slaves. You are being ordered. They are ordering residents to surrender, not to dispose of, not to remove from the state, not to grandfather, not to register, not to stand in line to get a permission slip to keep. No, to surrender all bum stocks and trigger cranks in their possession, making it clear that keeping an accessory is prohibited. Massachusetts bump stock ban is a response to the October 1st, 2017 Las Vegas shooting, wherein the devices were used criminally to inflict harm. So they say, I still say that the Las Vegas massacre is a big, stinky, nasty mess, and we're being lied to, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But this just goes to what, Jarrad, what was when I came back from Las Vegas on October, 5th or something, 3rd, 4th, 5th?
Yeah.
First show, what did I say? Las Vegas was what? The Las Vegas massacre attack was terrorism. And how did I prove that fact?
By basically using the examples of the media trying to push for gun control.
Yep, media, not only the media.
Well, and the politicians,
left-wing politicians using the Las Vegas attack to push restrictions, to push new laws. That is the freaking definition of terrorism. And Massachusetts left-wing Democrat politicians are perfectly happy to use terrorism to further their goals. Now, of course, Massachusetts will admit that there has not been any instances within the borders of the People's Republic of Massachusetts where a rifle equipped with a bump stock or a trigger crank was used to commit a crime. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It happened somewhere in the world. And so aren't they already restricted to 10 rounds max in their slave rifles in Massachusetts? I'm pretty sure I'm right there. They already have an assault weapons ban in Massachusetts. You already have to register. You have to have a permission slip, not just to conceal carry, but because it's shall issue anyway, and you can't do it, or may issue. I'm sorry, it's may issue. But if you want to have a gun, you have to have a permission slip from the state to have a gun. And you're only allowed to have guns that the Attorney General approves of. So now, apparently, and I don't believe really that there are that many of these, because I just can't see the enjoyment in putting a reduced capacity 10-round magazine into a Smith & Wesson M&P and bump stocking it. Like, ooh, 10 rounds, breep, reload, breep, reload. That's not really that fun. But the fact of the matter is this. They may exist. And what's really got me all twisted and upset and not happy is not so much the actions of the slave masters, because we know that the people in Massachusetts are ruled by Democrat slave masters, and they're just too lazy and weak to fight back. That, yes, the people of Massachusetts, listen to me, this is me, Paul Markle, it's Paul G. Markle, saying right now into the black carbon steel microphone, the reason this is going on in Massachusetts is because the people of Massachusetts, by and large, and you say, it's not me. Okay, it may not be you, but it's all your friends, family, and neighbors. It's all your friends, family, and coworkers are weak and pathetic. You view the government as the arbiter of all that is fair. It's the government's job to make my life fair and easy and to make sure I'm comfortable and make sure that no one says mean things and to take care of me and everything and me. And someone has to do it. This didn't happen overnight. You don't have the government violating the Constitution of the United States of America. You know, all those amendments about shall not deprive the people of private property without just compensation in due course of law and stuff like that. You know, taking something that was legal yesterday and forget about the grandfather clause, forget about, well, I can keep it as long as I register it. Forget about all that nonsense. What Massachusetts is doing right now is they are setting a precedent that at any point in time that the liberal do-good slave masters can go into session, come out and say, hey, yeah, we decided for health and safety, for safety and security, that this thing is now illegal. And no, you're not allowed to transfer it out of state. You're not allowed to sell it to a gun dealer. You're not allowed to do anything other than surrender it to the representatives of the state. And if you fail to do so, we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will throw you into jail. Because possession of plastic gun parts is way worse than murder, rape, robbery. It's worse than being an illegal invader. It's worse than being a terrorist or a drug dealer. It's the worst thing you could possibly do is own a plastic gun part.
Yeah, but those plastic gun parts make people want to murder people. Don't you understand that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's not about people's actions. We can't hold humans responsible for their behavior. No, it's about possession of inanimate objects. That's what because the state knows better than you. You're a dunderhead. You're a moron. You're incapable. And we can't allow you. It doesn't matter that there's never been a bump stock or trigger crank used to commit a crime in Massachusetts. That doesn't matter. It's immaterial. Your slave masters have decided that you're not allowed, and you are commanded. And what's even crazier is we have people in our audience who sent us letters. Saw one. They got the letter, and it said you have 90 days to surrender. The letter was dated, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before it was arrived, and the date of surrender was 6 days. So one of our audience members got a letter
from the actual date, 6 days from the actual date that they received the letter. Yeah.
Yeah. So it said a 90-day grace period, but actually by the time they got the letter, they had 6 days to comply. You will comply. And pretty much everybody who's gotten these letters says, well, why did I get this letter? I don't even own one of these things. It doesn't matter because you're on the – remember when we were told that it's no big deal to stand in line and register? Remember when all the Connecticut slaves got in line? They're like, I'm just staying within the law. Or I can still keep my toy as long as I get my government permission slip. So all you people out there who think, oh, come on, Paul, you're just crazy. They would never use these lists, these compiled lists of registered gun owners, for any kind of a confiscation scheme. Would they? And people are like, well, why am I getting one of these letters? I don't own a bump stock or a trigger crank. Why am I? Because you're on the list. You're on the list of people that own dangerous things. You're on the list compiled by your government, by the state, and you're one of those people who can't be trusted. So congratulations. I want to say congratulations to all the hard-fighting, pro-Second Amendment, sportsmen and gun owners in the People's Republic of Massachusetts who have been for years and years fighting the good fight against tyranny and government restrictions. So congratulations. And make sure you have comfortable shoes when you stand in line to surrender. All right, that's all I've got to say today. I know we went long again. You're welcome. Congratulations. Listen up, freaks. You're a beginner once. You should be a student for life.
We appreciate your reviews. If you haven't left a review or updated yours recently, head on over to Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast player to voice your opinion. Don't forget to join us at the Student Lounge, a place for like-minded individuals to learn, connect, and support each other. No chicanery will be tolerated. Remember to check studentofthegun.com daily for new, free content and giveaways. Watch, listen, read, shop, and connect at studentofthegun.com. Are you a social butterfly? Connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for new content each and every day at Student of the Gun. Watch Student of the Gun TV and videos from our trusted partners on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Chromecast, and even AirPlay. Go to studentofthegun.com for direct links, and remember, you're a beginner once, a student for life.